All right, it is August 21st, 2023, this is the Greenway Advisory Committee meeting. We do have a quorum. I'm going to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda here is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So the main purpose of tonight's meeting is mostly just an informational meeting for the general public to give an update and to get on the record about the Greenway expansion. So Andrew, I'm going to have you kind of guide us through what the latest is on this.
So this project started several years ago with our former city engineer and our consultant Reagan Smith. They both, he went to them, and they had previously worked with some other municipalities here in the area that have worked with the Corps of Engineers. They were wanting to get a budget price of what it would take to at least get the initial phases started, and that number was $78,000. So the city budgeted $78,000 from the start to get this project up and going. The Corps of Engineers basically change chiefs every 2 to 4 years. The chief currently right now is very on board with this. He's willing to, he wants to increase their master plan of recreational activities around Percy Priest. So he is very for this. The hitching point right now is the commercial land division, I guess, with the Corps of Engineers. They're wanting to have basically full engineering drawings. So in the past, the Reagan Smiths worked with the Corps. They wanted 35% drawings to start. So that's basically 35% of the project. I'm not an engineer by any means, but that's what they used to start, and that's what the city initially went off of with the consultant. So by going with the 100% drawings, roughly, the cost increases another $340,660. So right now,
Can you say that number one more time?
$340,660. So on top of the original $78,000 budgeted, and this is from our current city engineer, Gary Lod, the total would be $418,660 for fees.
For the drawing.
And that's what is the Corps of Engineers, to our best understanding, is wanting from the city. So, and as far as budgeting, it's at the moment it's a pause, but it's not a pause in the project necessarily. We would have to probably use some of this budgeted money from this year, and then with the next fiscal budget year, we would have to add those fees in and kind of dip out of both budget years to pay for this, to move this project forward. As far as I've given you all we have met with the Corps one time since we last met with you all. And like I said, they're still on board with the project. And the chief, he has nothing to do with the regulations of the Corps. Of course, he has to follow his chain of command and his divisions there. There are some amendments to the previous, this is the picture that I gave you all last time. There's a few things. The natural area loop at the very top, this brown area, if you see it, if you look at the boat ramp, there's the kayak launch. And then this natural loop area, the Corps would want us to take over their entire parking lot. And what that would mean would be the city would be financially responsible for damages. So pretty much I think at the moment the city doesn't want to take on that obligation. So if that was the case, the Corps wants to pretty much cut the kayak launch out and take that natural loop area and circle it back around into our paved area. And they also want to, like I said, remove kayak launch, loop the natural surface trail area to parking lot, eliminate the greenway access along the road. So there would be no from Stones River. It would just be currently tied into our current trailhead there, right there at the roundabout, and then it would go down to a parking lot, as you see at the top of your page there. This would be a two-phase plan. Phase one is understood to consist of a paved trail, a parking area, and a natural surface trail. Phase two is understood to consist of the shelter and/or restroom building, as well as the fishing piers, and their respective pedestrian connections to the paved trail. So as we've said before, any thing that was put in the plan that we wanted to do in the future, like fishing piers or bathrooms, that has to be in the initial, or we'd have to go through the entire process again with the Corps of Engineers.
So it wouldn't be facing any place like for their building the new or more of the places to park the boats in there now? Are they gonna continue parking boats?
Yeah, we wouldn't have any connection to the current boat ramp now.
Okay.
Our parking lot would be closer up towards Stones River on the left side. If you were to pull going down into the boat ramp, it'd be on the left side of the road. There's like if you were to go there now, it's kind of an open section. It's a cedar glade. It's people ride four-wheelers and stuff through there. So they were kind of thinking it might be a protected cedar glade. That's something their environmental study would have to go through. But since that is damaged now, they said that their environmental department might move forward with the parking area. So like I said, we want to put everything in here from the start and let them approve what they're willing to accept. So if we do want to add any additions in the future, they're already in here and we don't have to go back and ask for permission.
Would there be like any camping sites back there? You know, if you wanted to go and camp overnight or something like that?
It'd basically be just like our walking trail now. It'd be
Okay.
and it's roughly, according to this map, 1.3 miles.
Mm-hmm.
I think our engineering drawings saying approximately 1.5. So
I know you said about trying to get this approved in kind of one fell swoop, but what about just starting on the trail itself without any additions? Is that a possibility?
I guess we'd have to take that before
I
city
mean-
administration and Reagan Smith on that.
Yeah, I mean,
and the Corps.
I know that we got a nice, the pier,
Yeah.
but it seems like, all these other items I can see the necessity of having a firm plan on. But if this is just as far as like clearing some brush, trying to get a little bit of asphalt down, I know.
It sounds.
I want to say it's not
completely
rocket
understand where you're
science,
coming
but I
from.
know there's
Yeah, as
red
far as
tape and
like I
everything
said, I'm not an
else.
engineer,
Yeah.
but yeah, it seems like cut some trees down, put some gravel and asphalt, and it's a trail. But to the government Corps of Engineers,
They still have to
factoring
survey it and
your
everything else.
drainage, they have to have their cut and fill. So you can't take away too much dirt from one area and not put it back because you have to think about the elevation of the lake for winter pool and summer pool. There's a lot of geotechnical factors that factor into their decision also.
But is that a possibility that we could talk to them about
We could certainly ask.
addressing the trail only?
The
And
only
then-
reason from what we've been told, even from the chief currently now, he said always try to put your stuff in from the front, because if he leaves
Right.
and somebody else comes in and doesn't want to, let's say they don't want a fishing pier, well then we have to wait even longer, and that might be 1 or 2 terms down the road, we don't know. So that's, if we get it approved on the front end, it's better for the city. I understand what you're saying, we're definitely wanting a trail for our citizens.
Yeah.
And, it's taken years to even get the trail we have now, but I see both sides. We could ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the total budgeted amount that the entire project would cost?
That is undetermined, to be honest with
Because
you.
418,000 for the
That's-
plan seems a little high.
Yeah. Engineering cost, to my knowledge, and this is just off the record, I was thinking roughly like 1.5 million, 1 to 1.5 million was going to be the eventual total. But that really depends on the economy. And, like I said, this was started with the former engineer. And this was probably 3 years ago when Reagan Smith was consulted on that. And of course, they've been working with us year in and year out since then. But this is based on what the Corps had previously done.
Yeah. To me, just my opinion, some progress is better than no progress, right? We could wait another term before this even gets to where financially the city says, okay, and then, you know.
That's true.
Their leadership changes and they say no. So to me, it's kind of a double-edged sword, like, yes, we could wait until the city has this project in their budget, but that could be,
Or their grants.
yeah. That's a
That-
good question.
That is a route that can be looked at. The double-edged sword with grants is when you have a grant, you're tied to a grant. So if a grant, you get a grant and they're not in correlation with what you're trying to do, or they're not in correlation with another grant, then that's a double-edged sword. They don't want to finance you.
Well, I'm kind of the agreement. I'd like to see it go forward. I mean, I know that you have to put all of these things in there from the beginning, but we already don't have that on the other end, and people are using it quite a bit, and let's just be honest, they're fishing now just fine off the bank. So we don't have to build this grandiose fishing pier here. And you've got all those birds down there. And so I'm almost afraid of what would happen if we put this nice pavilion there with all those birds and the things that those birds do. I haven't been down there in a while because of those birds. But I'm just saying, like, worst case scenario, we're just going to keep doing what we've done. And it's not, there's some benches, there's some nice little trail markers, and people get to walk the full length and then, you know, turn around and go back, or, you know, whatever. It's just, I like the bells and whistles, but we don't necessarily need to have them.
Like I said, we can definitely go back to city administration and see if we can kind of chop off some extras and see if we can get the project moving forward.
How does everybody else feel about that? Trail only kind of?
I would love to see it move forward.
Trail only to start with, and then something comes up, we can always. But I'm like her, I see the people, I'm up there at least 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes I walk all the way, and people are fishing out there, and seem to be enjoying that.
This is just my opinion. We'd probably still have to have our parking lot because I think the Corps wants to deviate between
I'm good with that.
their property.
Yeah,
So I
because you
just
want to stay away from all those
Yeah.
boats and trailers anyways.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So as far as y'all's recommendation, you're wanting just the trail with our, of course, we'd have benches and trash cans and
Right.
markers like we do now of
Sure.
historical sites and that nature, and then also the parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that could get the cost where it could move forward so our citizens could have something new in the city that everyone could use, that would be wonderful.
You don't get to that point where you're like, oh, turn around and then go back. No, you could just go all the way through, and then you'd have your own parking lot, so you don't have to deal with the boats and the trailers. And
What about the nature loop area also? The reason I ask, and like I said, if you put that in there and we wanted to do something later, we'd have to go back and ask. It might be a hindrance on the front side because they might say that there's some protected species down there and deny us, which is fine, rightfully so. We'd want to protect whatever's there.
Now, is that the part you said that if
The
we were to
little
do?
brown, yeah, the little brown loop area that goes down to the current boat ramp, that would be taken out and made a loop. So basically, you'd be making a big U from the asphalt walking trail. It would circle back through the woods and then come back further down onto the paved asphalt trail.
Now, is that the one that you said that they would want us to take over their parking lot as well if we did that?
No, currently it goes to their parking lot. So
Okay.
if we were to do a kayak launch and do the nature trail down to it, our original thinking was, you know, kayaking is a very big thing on Percy Priest. If you could drop off your kayak and then kind of do like a nature walk to get to it from the parking lot, that was the original intended thinking.
I don't know how safe it would be to kayak out there with some of those boats. I mean, that's just my take on it.
Yeah, that's true. People do it every day though, surprisingly.
If you're in the no wake zone, I imagine it's probably fine.
Would there be any liability to the city if someone got hurt if we did a kayak launch?
I'd have to check. You have to check with our insurance on that.
I think we should just focus on the extension itself.
Okay, so the extension, paved area, and then a parking lot. Okay, no pavilion? Or do we want to put that in there?
I mean, I like the thought of there eventually being restrooms there with, if you walk the whole, all the way from City Hall down.
What's there, girl?
I don't, as much as I would love to see that pavilion out there, I think with, you know, budget constraints, we're just trying to get one foot in front of the other here.
Okay. Yeah, we'll
Let's just
definitely
stick
go,
with the asphalt
we'll
for
definitely
now.
take it back to the city administration and Reagan Smith, and if we can, set that up with the
Yeah.
Corps of Engineers and kind of go over a plan as far as moving forward.
Yeah, some movement is better than no
Yeah.
movement.
Keep waiting and waiting, and everything keeps getting more and more expensive to do, so.
I mean, so, okay, so say we do this with Reagan Smith, we finish this project that's asphalt only for the trail and the parking lot. Are we still obligated to use Reagan Smith if we want to build that pavilion, or can we get some other architect to draw it up for a more reasonable
As far
price
as the
down the road?
pavilion, we would still have to go back to the Corps of Engineers and ask, we'd go through this entire process again of, you know, site work. We don't necessarily have to use Reagan Smith to do that, but
Yeah.
as far as, you're basically gonna go through the same process with a different engineering firm.
So we would have those costs all again. So the cost then for the 418 would include everything then, correct?
That's just engineering.
Right, for
Yeah,
engineering.
yeah.
So then that estimated 1.5 million, does that include those engineering, or will that 418,000 go on top
And on
of
the
that?
1.5, I'm not gonna say that that's 100% total budget. That was the last number years ago, I believe I saw on that. Of course, your material costs have changed.
Right.
Until we get to that point, I can't tell you any kind of exact numbers.
I've got a question. What about lighting? Or would it be strictly daytime?
It would be dusk to dawn, pretty much, just like
Okay.
our current walking trail is there. So it would close at dusk.
Any other questions, concerns about all that?
I haven't said anything yet, so I just wanted to say that I agree. I think if we can prioritize the trail itself
Yeah,
is what's needed.
I think so.
It'd still be a great recreational asset to our community, no doubt, even with just a trail and a parking lot. I mean, people use the current one every day, walking and biking. There's kids that mom and dad take them down and go fishing, little minnows on the riverbank. So, like you said, it's still going to get used even if it's just a trail.
My concern is, we've got some homeless people that stay up there, and, I mean, you know, because I have been approached, you know, where I live, and I've walked down that road going back out that way, and I've had one guy come out and he hollered at me, he said, "Hey, what you doing here? Come on, join us." I mean,
That's something we could definitely work with our police
I hope so.
department. I know they do have some
yeah.
little side-by-side vehicles that they could patrol. So that's something we could definitely work with on them to monitor that more.
Anybody else? Okay.
When can
next-
we get started next week?
I wish we could.
That would be nice.
Yeah, right.
If we're getting the price down, we need to be like, come on, Miracle, let's get this moving.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't, like I said, I'm not an engineer, I'm not finance, so I don't know if, even if we do reduce our amenities, our engineering costs will go down. I don't know
Right.
that. Because this might be just for, you know, they have to go and drill core samples and check drainage and environmental work, so I can't say that even taking away amenities is gonna reduce our cost.
Well, if it's not, can we leave those in the plan so that we could have those building
And
plans for
that's
the
something
future?
we will definitely ask with Reagan Smith and check with that. Because like I said, it's a double-edged sword. You definitely want to have the amenities or the ability to
Right.
put these in the future. Because, you know, 15, 20 years down the road, the city might be in a whole
situation.
financial situation where they are just, let's go put some fishing piers in, or let's go put a pavilion or bathrooms. So that's something that we would definitely ask in those meetings, what kind of price difference would be if we were to remove these or keep these on engineering costs.
Now, I remember before they extended Stones River Road from the, thing, when the old Stones River Road went on down, there was a little cave there. I wonder if they've done anything, filled it in or what?
Not sure. The only thing, I have walked some of that area before. There are some old drainage areas that were
Right.
built from maybe some of the CCC projects or something back in the day. And I think that is planned to keep and try to showcase those items if it is available. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's some nice rock walls and stuff out there. But I don't know about the cave. But yeah, if there are some natural artifacts, I'm sure that's something that we're going to try to maintain. Of course, the Corps of Engineers definitely
Right.
want to do that too, to showcase the area.
All right,
Sounds good. Like I said, get started on it next week. You know,
you're gonna get the brush hog out there, Miss Mary? Yeah?
I will.
Yeah, okay, good, good. All right. The next meeting will be November 20th, 2023, at 7 PM. I have no additional comments to that, and with that, I'll call this meeting adjourned.